everybody, welcome back to Around the Emirates podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across UAE about topics you want to hear about. Today, I am joined by Sharon James, who is a women's health and menopause coach. Really important topic for us to cover today. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I know that there are a lot of listeners out there that don't know very much about kind of women's health in general, let alone kind of menopause. Please tell me your story and what got you into this sector.
Sure. So I've been in the wellness industry for over 30 years. And when I was a coach, or when I was training to be a personal trainer and a coach, there was no training on the menopause and how you work with women who were going through that. And to be honest, I sort of never really came into my sort of world up until about 7 or 8 years ago. And that's when I started experiencing the menopause, and I didn't know what was going on. My body was changing, my moods were changing, and yes, just weird things were happening, and I didn't know what it was. So I did lots and lots of research, and I realized that this word perimenopause kept coming up, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. So more and more research, and yeah, it's a stage of the menopause that we, and even a lot of women of today, still don't know what that is. So as a coach, you know, it was vital that I understood it for myself, because I was starting to go through it, and for the women that I was actually working with as well. So being in the wellness industry for over 30 years, I realized that I'm learning something new after 30 years, that this is something that women don't know a lot about. So through my own sort of research, I then started to apply all sorts of different strategies to myself to see what was going on. And yeah, that's when I started to shift into that space, because it's a really important space, and women should really understand what it is, why we go through it, and how we can manage it, more importantly. Yeah, so from the age of about 45, I'm 54 now, I think, 53. That's been my speciality around that area. I do work with women in other areas, but that's the area I wanted to focus on, because not a lot of women understand it and know how to manage it. Yeah.
I love that you, after 30 years as an expert in the healthcare sector, I love that you chose to do something based on your own personal experience. That means that it's something that touches you as a human, and something that you would put even more kind of heart and soul into really understanding and getting to kind of the bottom of it. So obviously, becoming such a specific expert in such a specific topic can come with its challenges. What would you say, even from your personal experience, has been your biggest challenge in understanding more about menopause, and how have you overcome it?
Yeah, I think the first challenge was finding the right information. And because back in those days as well, there wasn't a lot of information out there. Plus, even the professional medical profession didn't even understand it either. And can you believe that back then, the medical profession only got 4 hours of training in their whole profession on menopause? And you know, it affects 50% of the population of the world, and they only had 4 hours of their whole. How many years do doctors go to school, university? So
that's insane.
I know, and you know, even today it's changing, because they've realised that they've got to have more information about this, how it's affected us. And no disrespect to them either, but back in the day as well, women weren't even allowed in any clinical trials, because we were deemed to be too complicated. So even up until, I think it was 2010, women weren't allowed in any clinical trials. So the information that we're getting today is relatively new. And even though HRT, which is one of the therapies we'll talk about a little bit later, has been around, women are still fearful of it because of studies that were around but weren't done correctly. So the challenges that I sort of experienced were A, finding the right information, B, finding medical professionals who we can talk to. The UK are pioneering the way to sort of bring menopause to a place where we shouldn't be hiding behind the stigma and everything else that goes with it. And that's what the challenge is here. We've been trying to, in a country where there's a lot of different cultures, bringing this word menopause to the forefront as a normal conversation and normalizing it. And I think that's the challenge that I've had over the years, but luckily that's changing now. It is changing, because menopause has always been related to being old and it's not the case. So one of the challenges is bringing the positivity to menopause. It's not a bad thing. We just need to understand it. You know, we need to, it's like anything else that, you know, it's only like going through puberty or having our periods. How do we understand that? It's exactly the same, but we're just on the reverse side of it, really. So it's just, yeah, they're the sort of challenges, is just getting the right information to the right people, I think.
That
Yeah.
is amazing. I can't believe that. You would never think in our day and age, like we're in 2024, like when you were talking about how women weren't even part of the trials, I was thinking like 1950s, 1960s, maybe from your research you read that. 2010, that's insane. That's
That's
actually
for,
ridiculous.
yeah, that's for any trials though, not just for menopause. You know, there's a loads of, you know, even down to how we train, the nutrition, everything that we eat, we've always been based on men, because men, you know, all the fad diets that we have, for example, all the studies and all the information that we come out is all based on men's statistics, not females. So there's a lot more information now that females can use to, you know, have better well-being, perform better in any kind of sports that we're in. How do we work with our periods differently? Because there's 4 cycles. I never knew there was four weeks of different cycles in our period up until 5 or 6 years ago. I just thought it was one big massive headache of a period, and we had to put up with it, you know. And that's what we were told, weren't we? Really, it's just, oh, you'll go through your period and blah blah blah. You'll have sugar cravings and get on with it, more or less. But now we don't have to, because there's certain ways and certain things that we can do in each of those weekly cycles that we can actually help ourselves, and it's quite amazing. It's phenomenal, really. But yeah, so, and back in the 50s, and not even in the 30s and 40s, women were actually put in mental institutes because they didn't know what was wrong with them, because they thought they were going insane because they were going through the menopause. And plus, a lot of women didn't actually live until their 50s, so the information, you know, has not been around that long for us to be able to, you know, utilize that and help us. Yeah, so it's quite fun. It's quite an interesting topic. I love it.
I can tell. I mean, what an informative journey to go on. What an experience for you as a human to go through, to understand not only more about kind of women's health and how menopause affects us, and the, you know, the good and bad parts of menopause, but also you as a
Yeah,
woman, your own experiences with that. And it sounds like you might have, you know, a story to share with me today about, you know, your experience and learning more about this.
I think I've got loads of stories, but I think the one thing, you know, growing up with my mom and my sisters and everybody going through the menopause, it was always like, oh, you're going through the menopause, you know, your life sort of stops, or, you know, the word menopause is just wrong anyway. You know, it's a time of, for me, it was a time of what can I say, of rediscovery. It's about rediscovering yourself. Your body is changing, so you have to change. You have to change the way that you look at your nutrition, your exercise, sleep, and hone in on that. But you know, when you ask a lot of women about the menopause, it's quite funny, the reactions that you get. And it's like, oh, I'm not there yet, you know, I've got no idea, you know, they've no idea where or how they are on the spectrum of menopause. And oh, I'll deal with that when I get to it. And especially, you know, from my husband listening to me doing all the education and the studying and stuff, and he comes to me and he goes, I thought menopause was just like a couple of months and you got over it. And I'm like, he said, I didn't realize it lasted more than 10 years. So, you know, it's like the reaction that you get from people when you talk about the menopause is very different, very varied. So yeah, it's quite funny. But you know, we didn't know, or some of us still don't know, that the menopause can last for up to 10 years, and you're in menopause for the rest of your life once you get to a certain stage. But yeah, there's some quite, it's quite funny when you talk to, especially women around about the age of, I'd say late 30s, 40s, they'll go, oh, I'm not in menopause yet. But you know, there's 4 sections of menopause. And I'll go, tell me your age. And they'll go, I'm 42. And I'll go, you're probably in perimenopause. And they'll go, oh no, I'm not. But you know, some women don't get any symptoms. You know, some women can breeze through it, and others can be very varied with the symptoms and stuff. So it's just having that awareness, really, I think.
And that's why I really appreciate your authenticity and your kind of honesty and transparency on the show today. The fact that you're bringing to light something that it should not have a stigma tied to it. It should not be something that we're scared to talk about. And everything you're saying is so new to me as well. And I'm just like, wow, like I had no idea that you could actually potentially already be in menopause earlier than you think, and it could last for 10 years. Like it's so important for us to be able, or for experts like you to be able to kind of share that message of like, it's okay, and here's how you can learn more about it. And on that note, what would be your word of advice for listeners here today that might not know as much about menopause as they should?
Just read up about it, be interested in it, because it's a part of your life, whether you like it or not, it's coming, and how you manage it and your mindset towards it is very much how you approach it and how you experience it, should I say. So don't be fearful of it, talk about it, because that's the biggest thing that we're trying to do, is get people to talk about it and just understand it, understand why we go through it, understand why you might have to change some things in your life, and what the good things are when you come out the other side of it. You know, I'm still running marathons, I'm doing Ironmans. There is nothing that you can't do on this side of post-menopause, you know, so it's having that really good mindset towards it. And like I said before, there is so much more research now on things that we can help us manage it, that we don't have to suffer. So I think that would be one of the top tips, to sort of understand it and apply whatever you can to manage it, really. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I know that you have a really important event coming up towards the end of the year that will raise awareness for menopause.
Yeah, so part of my dream plan was to have as much information under one roof for women to be able to go, you know what, and now I understand it, and now I know what I need to do. So we've organised a menopause summit, which is going to be in the Museum of the Future on the 18th of October. So I'm really happy. We're going to have really good guest speakers there. We're going to have some activities and just really give women a sense of community, that A, that you're not alone, and B, it's okay, you can manage it and understand it and get as much information under one roof for the women, for people to go away. And it's open for men as well, by the way. Men can actually attend as well, because it's really important that they understand. So yeah, that's on the 18th of October at the Museum of the Future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for taking the time to speak to me today about the importance of not just menopause, but understanding the broader scale that is women's health, and that these things are not things that we should be afraid to talk about, and that it's important for us to be aware of it. And people out there have, you know, mothers, sisters, cousins, wives that are going through all this. So it's really important that we understand it and know how to handle it and help them, support them through the journey as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.